Okay, basically we wanted to create a thriller/horror set in Ashridge Woods that all of the conventions of typical thriller and horror are in it. We also want to keep it quite minimal, so there's not a lot of props in it. It's quite a basic storyline, quite a typical storyline, but also it can be quite effective by that. So basically the storyline is, it's dark, it's night time in Ashridge Woods. There's a man running, we don't know why he's running, but all he has with him is a torch shining on the ground. The camera is above him, looking down from sort of shoulder height downwards, so he could almost be holding it himself. He's running, and the reason he's running is because he can hear screaming coming from the scout hut in Ashridge. I don't know if you've ever been to the monument, but there's a scout hut about 200 metres down. It's quite an airy place, and we can just hear, all we hear is a screaming coming from it, and the shots basically change from an establishment shot of the woods and him running to an establishment shot of the hut, and you can hear the screaming coming inside. He's pretty much just running to the hut. We're not entirely sure why. But,
then what happens is he knocks down the door to see whoever it is inside. And then he walks in and there's no one in there. And then he comes in and the doors slam behind him. We see someone closing the doors. And it's pitch black, it's dark, you can only see the outline of the room. And then you hear the heartbeat and his breathing, and then something moves in towards the camera shot and it goes black. And that's the end. So that's basically the main idea. The locations we were going to use Ashridge Woods and this scout hut, obviously, as Harry said. Ollie's going to be on the camera, and Harry and I are going to be the actors. We're going to use a range of POV, point of view shots, fast pans, steady shots, close-ups, to maintain tension and throughout the entire piece. Yeah, I think. There's anything you want to add on?
We had a look at the Born Ultimatum series for like inspiration and ideas. So we came up that we'd keep it quite claustrophobic apart from the two establishment shots. So it'd be quite in your face.
we quite like the idea of the chase or the running being like one of the Bourne films, and Night Shyamalan, the director of Signs and The Village, he has a really good way of sort of like keeping the tension up and things, and that's what we wanted to try and combine the two together. And yeah, as I said earlier, to keep it really, really simple, just like 2 actors, no more than that, no props really apart from a torch. Don't really get to know the character at all. We don't know if he's up to good or bad or anything. He's just running towards the hut because you can hear the screaming.
It'll be like dirty, so like dirt. So you casually, not like that, like hoodies, jackets, not like fancy dress like our school suits. Just
My immediate concern about this, there are 2. One is a practical one, that if you film it at night, you're not going to see a damn thing. Secondly, I wonder how, from a technical and a narrative point of view, how accomplished it's going to be if your opening 2 minutes is just a man going for a run.
No, you see a lot more. You see a lot more than that.
Or not being harsh.
We start with maybe about 3 seconds on each establishment shot, and you see a really dark part of the woods that we know and have seen before, and just potentially we'd quite like it to be a bit drizzly, a bit dark and damp, maybe in winter.
But we can add that in with the editing. So it doesn't have to be completely dark when we film it, but we can edit in shadows.
Could be, twilight or whatever. But yeah, it's not just. There's definitely a sense that there's more behind it than just this man running. Like you can, every time he stops and like looks around him, you can hear the screaming getting closer and closer. Whatever noise it may be coming from the hut, and you know that there is a reason why he's going there.
Okay, so it sounds like an actual soundscape design is
the sound effects and sound is going to be really important.
With the nighttime thing, what we wanted to do was use a very, very powerful torch that he's holding himself. We quite like the idea of you don't get to see a lot, you don't get to see a wide angle shot of everything that's going on with the detail, you just see what he's seeing via the torch. So if he's shining on the hut, the door of the hut, you see the door of the hut, you see what he sees.
The other thing is that the high definition cameras have night vision infrared type thing. Yeah. So you could also possibly use that. That is an effect you can add in post production. You can edit that on in Final Cut. So that might be another option. I'm just wondering whether is there going your second character, is that somebody who you're going to see in the film,
It's,
apart from right at the end in the hut?
he might be like in the shadows, so you might see the guy run past, and then he's like behind. So you'll see he might pop in and out, and then he's basically, the idea is he's luring him to this place.
You want to keep it as minimum as possible, but you know there's two characters, you don't know if they're good or bad, and you just know that they're up to something eerie's going on.
Okay. And what about titles? Because with these sort of things, it's quite often quite good to have sort of animated titles,
Yeah.
perhaps coming in and cutting between titles and building suspense and back to titles and so on.
I think the only idea we discussed about that was at the end when it all goes black, be it whether the door's just closed or whether you've just zoomed in on him or whatever. At the end there's like either a heartbeat or a bit of music comes in and you see the writing come across the screen.
But we don't know the name of the piece yet, because we're trying to find the appropriate.
Something to do with the chase, probably.
So in the broader spectrum of things, what other films have you looked at for inspiration?
Just signs, really. The normal horror films are always good, but a lot more simple than that. So Signs, The Village, the Bourne films, because they...
Or the chase scenes, because it's fun.
Blair Witch would be a good one to go back to for that sort of lo-fi, low-tech, grungy, being chased by something unseen. I think that would be a good one to look at as a reference point as well. Okay, audience, any questions, any thoughts? Yes, Becky.
It's going to sound a bit mean, but don't you think it's going to be a bit short? Because I was thinking, because it's going to be, because now when you say the ideas, it sounds like it's going to be a while because you're discussing each element of it. But when it comes to the film, is it going to be?
The tempo of the man running is going to be sped up, slowed down by the amount of noise that he is hearing. So if he's the scream's really loud, he'll be moving a lot because he'll want to try and get there, and if it quiets down, he'll stop, look around. It will slow down and speed up just to give it variation. It's not just going to be quick all the time.
I don't think there'll be more than about 30 seconds spent on him as he reaches the hut. Maybe about a minute when he's running, and then about 20 seconds of establishment shots, and then credits at the end or whatever. So I think it'll be at least 2 minutes.
Are you going to add the screams in, or are you going to have someone actually screaming at the hut?
We don't know.
We don't know exactly what the noise is going to be, but GarageBand has a lot of cool things like that. So.
Because if you do it at night, then if you've got someone there screaming, the police might come on.
Add to the suspense.
Film that.
I'm not worried about that.
It's a fair point though, that Annie raises, and off the back of that, because do you have permission to go into the scout hut?
I do know the ranger quite well, Lawrence Trowbridge, in the National Trust.
So you should be able to do some sort of deal. Any more questions from the audience? You got one, Andrew?
Yeah. This is supposed to be the start to a film, yeah? How do you perceive the rest of how do you perceive this starting to be the rest of the story after a film?
It'd be like one of those the bits at the beginning of the film where you don't know what much is happening, and it's a character that you don't get involved with, but then another character is involved, so you get to know the story. So you get to find out what's happening through the rest of the film.
Potentially it could turn out that this guy was just a nobody, and the only reason he's running towards the hut is so that later on in the film there could be like a policeman trying to find out where he's gone, what's gone on in the woods. Or it could be one of those things where you get the trailer, you get the 2 minutes intro, and then the rest of the film is before that, what's gone on before that leading up to it, so you find out what's been going on beforehand and stuff, and learn out why it's been happening.
Okay, thank you guys.